when it actually starts being live, guys, it's like, it's one of those things where it says it's setting it up, but I truly believe that I'm probably already live right now, but who knows? So let's just say that we are, and why don't we just get going with this? So we're going to talk about something pretty important today, and it is the real reason that people struggle to achieve success, the real reason that people continually fail, the real reason that you set goals, but you never seem to achieve those goals. And yet you look around you and it appears that everyone is achieving and you're just stuck and you just can't seem to figure out your way. There are actually five characteristics that I think I want to share with you today that if you can master these characteristics, even at like just a surface level, it's going to get you to a place where you're moving towards success. It's going to help you start to build that momentum towards success. If you ignore these things, then you will just stay stuck in a life of mediocrity. And that's not what I want for you, because I really just want to see you win. And being stuck in a life of mediocrity, I think if you're here watching this because of the title or because you've seen me talk before and you wanted to hear this, well, that means that you're ready to take that success step towards becoming that person who can achieve. Some of you are ready to become extraordinary and you just don't know what those steps are. And everybody knows you can get further faster when you have a guide that's been there before. So, for those who don't know me, my name's Chris. For the last 25 years, I've had thousands of paying clients who I've helped wildly grow their businesses. These are people who are inspired by what they do and they love serving others and they simply want to serve more people and get paid beautifully to do so. So I help them do it, in a little bit of a way like you might not think. As you're watching this, you might realize that you want to have like a one-on-one conversation with me about this because everybody's unique and you might have some unique needs that aren't addressed in this conversation. So into the chat, I'll place my calendar link. That's my last name.me. I just did that to make it super easy to remember. So if you head over to prouty.me, you can schedule a time to meet with me. That's not a sales call in disguise by any means. So let's talk about this personal transformation and the 5 keys to transformation if you truly want to achieve a level of greatness that would probably make other people nervous, that might even be unrecognizable to you. And the word unrecognizable is an important one here because in order for you to achieve the greatness that you seek to achieve, you have to become a different person. You have to fundamentally change who you are. Because the reality is, the person you are right now can't achieve that level of success. If you could, you already would have. Let's be quite honest about that. If you look at your goals and the person that you wish to become, and you look at the things you wish to achieve, the person you are right now, why wouldn't you have already done it? The answer is you would have if the person you are right now could achieve those things. But the person you are right now can't. So we have to fundamentally change who we are in order to be able to achieve the things that we wish to achieve. So I'll share with you 5 things that have had a profound impact on me in my own life, but have also had an impact on those that I serve, the people in my masterminds and my private clients. And the first really comes down to the difference between having a fixed mindset, which is what you have right now, and a growth mindset. And that is rooted in the fundamental foundational beliefs that you have. These are beliefs in your abilities. You have to shift from believing that your abilities are static to seeing them as something that will grow and are developable through effort and through learning. I was just talking to somebody about this week in one of the masterminds. You are just one skill away. You are just one ability away from taking massive leaps towards those goals that you have for yourself. You're just right now in this moment, you are one skill or one ability away. But if you have a fixed mindset instead of a growth mindset, you immediately chain yourself, you imprison yourself to this is all I can be. And if this is all I can be, then indeed, this is all you can become. Where you are right now is all you can become. if you have that fixed mindset instead of a growth mindset. And, I think back to myself decades ago when I made the shift from a fixed mindset. I remember it very clearly that I had a fixed mindset that I couldn't learn what I needed to learn to to do the things that I wanted to do with my life and my career. And I remember back to being in elementary school, first or second grade, and my librarian, her name was Sans Romano, first name Beverly. Beverly Sans Romano was my librarian. And I remember in first grade, she said, Chris, you can learn to do anything. If it's written down somewhere. All you have to do is find a book. And I remember that turning point. So this was in an age before access to information like we have today. And you actually had to read things in books. And I remember buying the books that I knew would teach me the things that I wanted to learn. Can you imagine having to do that now, going out and buying a bunch of books? But I bought all of the books, and the back seat of my car looked like a library. There were books from end to end across the back seat. And I didn't want to leave them at home because I always wanted to have them so that I could always just grab them on an instant and open up and read and learn. And that was the beginning of an exponential growth pattern in my ability not only to achieve things, but my ability to learn and apply things rapidly, because I was always in a state of learning and applying things rapidly. So when you can embrace the challenge of a growth mindset, opportunities present themselves to you. When you stay in a fixed mindset, you are always subject to threats to your self-image. So step number one to becoming the person who can achieve and changing fundamentally who you are is developing a growth mindset and getting rid of that fixed mindset. The second thing that I would share with you is becoming process focused rather than outcome obsessed. And that's a very sophisticated way of saying, put your head down and get to work on the process. Instead of fixating on the end result, become someone who finds immense amounts of satisfaction in consistent daily actions and small incremental progress versus always thinking about that end goal. And in the sport of football, I'm often reminded how they say, don't worry about the end zone. Just put your head down and focus on the yards. And then don't worry about the yards, put your head down and focus on the inches, which is why they say football is a game of inches. If you can just put your head down and just keep moving forward, the yards take care of themselves, and the first downs take care of themselves, and then the touchdowns take care of themselves. It's the same with you. In my mastermind Radius of Impact, we go through a process of taking very big long-term goals and breaking it down into smaller goals that take 3 months to achieve, and then even smaller goals that take just a couple of weeks to achieve, and then even smaller goals that just take a day to achieve. And what we're doing is we're relieving ourselves of the pressure of the big fixation on the end result, and we're just focusing on the small processes every day. You'll hear people quote me all the time that consistent effort over time is going to produce those exponential results. So tip number two, or strategy number two for you to become the person who can achieve what you wish to achieve, is process focused instead of outcome obsessed. The third that I will share with you is cultivating, and this one is my favorite. I almost want to save it for last, but I won't. I'll share it with you now. Actually, I'll share it last. I'm going to share my absolute favorite one last. So remember the word cultivate. Cultivate something. That's coming up in just a few minutes. And by the way, as you're sitting there, you might be saying, well, this kind of makes sense. Whatever this guy is saying is kind of making sense. I would like to talk to him more about this in my unique situation. So let me just pop a link into the chat for you. And if you're watching this on the replay, you'll know because it's not live. I'll put it in the comments as well. But just go to mylastname.me, prouty.me, and you can hop on my calendar and we can spend a little bit of time talking about how you can become the person you really do wish to become. So I'm saving my favorite, I'll save my favorite one for last. I want you to shift from perfectionism to good enough and action-based, a bias towards action. Perfectionism is going to steal your progress. In fact, I was just talking to my Force Acceleration Mastermind about this yesterday, about how I spent 2 weeks just putting out something that was good enough as I worked towards it being perfect. And it took 2 weeks for me to get to a point where what I was doing was perfect. And I could have spent those 2 weeks in isolation, obsessed over the perfectionism, or as I did, is I just took something that was good enough and I put it out into the market. So here's the difference. I put out good enough into the market and I got business from it. Closed business, cash collected, new clients. And I ended up with a perfect result after 2 weeks versus obsessing over perfection and spending 2 weeks in isolation just to get it perfect. You miss out on opportunities that will never come back to you if you do that. So the person you need to become is the person who says, I'm going to get this done to a point where it's good enough and I'm going to put it out and we're going to see what happens and I'll perfect as I move along. Had I just obsessed over perfection, I would have missed out on a lot of opportunities, big opportunities that have come my way, that have closed, that have turned into new clients because they saw what was good enough, but to them it wasn't good enough. To them, it made a ton of sense. Enough for them to come and reach out to me and say, we want to work with you. So shift from perfectionism to action-based, action-taking. This is good enough. Let's get it out there. We'll improve as we move along. You don't need everything to be perfect before you start. You need to start so that everything becomes perfect. So become someone who takes imperfect action consistently. And you've all heard the phrase, done is better than perfect. The fourth shift, the fourth thing that I will share with you that I would like you to consider becoming is developing systems thinking instead of relying on motivation to get yourselves moving. So systems thinking means everything is a system for you. Everything is a system. Rather than depending on motivation to get yourself moving, build reliable systems, habits, and structures that all work together regardless of how you're feeling on that given day. So here's an example of that. Before I finish, the last effort that I take sitting here at work is that I will look at what I'm going to start the next day and I will configure my desktop computer to have everything I need for that very first activity. So if that very first activity is produce a YouTube video, schedule it, optimize it for search, and get it online, I will have my editing program up, I'll have my YouTube studio up, I'll have all my research up, so that when I sit down, that system is already working. That habit of doing it has already been put in place, and I have the structure to sit down and not move to checking all my socials, not checking email, not looking at WhatsApp or my messenger programs, because I have the system and the structure in front of me that got me working regardless of how I felt on that day. And I hope that makes sense. So that's just one example of a system that you can put in place. Another example of a system that you can put in place is create a work environment that you actually love being in. My office is a place I love to be in. I better love to be in here. I'm going to be in here 18 hours a day. So I better love to be in here. So I make sure that in my office, I have exactly what I need for me to be happy, productive, and disciplined while I'm at work. I live a minimalist lifestyle. I like to have very few things. So I make sure my desk is completely free of things aside from my coffee cup and any tools that I need for my job, like my tablet. And I keep my journal right over here. And that's just about it. So I have a system that keeps my work environment primed so that I can execute with high levels of discipline. That's another system. So the fifth one is my favorite, and I almost shared it with you third, but I saved it for last. And thanks for hanging out for this. It's to cultivate delayed gratification over instant satisfaction. This is the hardest one for people to embrace because instant satisfaction works on a part of your brain that is extremely receptive to brain chemicals like dopamine. Instant satisfaction triggers chemical releases in your basal ganglia and your limbic system. So those are very powerful parts of your brain. They keep you alive. They keep the society and the tribe alive, and they're extremely sensitive towards dopamine release. So that's the people who seek instant satisfaction. Those are the people who can't truly achieve the best and biggest things that they want to achieve. Where delayed gratification, if you can take the thing that we would normally satisfy you instantly and put it off, the longer you can delay gratification, the less subject your limbic system and your basal ganglia are going to be to the chemical releases of dopamine. Further, and these are studies that very smart people have done. I didn't do these studies because I don't have the equipment to do these studies. They find that people who can delay gratification actually grow the parts of their brain that help them with discipline and shrink the parts of their brain that cause them to be distracted. So let me put it really simply. Your absolute obsession over instant gratification is getting in the way of you being able to make true progress in anything that you wish to do. And in fact, you could accomplish all the other four that I talked about today, from becoming process focused to developing a growth mindset to systems thinking and shifting from perfectionism. You could do all of those things, but if you don't have the ability to delay gratification and you are someone that is subject to instant satisfaction, you will not achieve. You will continue to be mediocre. So delayed gratification means when you feel like picking up your phone and scrolling through social media, you put the I'm back. I had to control myself there. You put the phone down and you get back to work. When everybody's saying, "Hey, let's go out drinking on Friday night," you say, "I can't. I have to get back to work." When people are planning things that are going to take you off task, or there are distractions, or there's a new movie that comes out, "I can't. I'm going to get back to work." That's delayed gratification. The instant satisfaction of scrolling social media, of going out and drinking, of doing drugs, of watching porn, of going to the movies, of socializing. There'll be time for that when you're rich. And you're sitting there and you're thinking, you know what? Oh, nobody sits on their deathbed saying, "I wish I worked more." Well, no, they have. They just don't tell the stories of those people because there aren't many of them. It's like 1%. But if you're going to achieve what you want to achieve in your business, you've got to put the stuff off. The stuff that gives you the instant gratification that does not contribute to the growth of your bank account goes away now. And you get back to work. "Oh, but Chris, what about working smarter and not harder?" Yeah, good luck. Sometimes working harder is working smarter. Sometimes working smarter means working harder. I don't know anyone that achieved great things that didn't bust their self over and over and over to make it happen. Look at some of the most successful people in the world. One of my greatest inspirations, his name's Gil Deser. He's a developer down in Miami. He knows that even though he's worth billions of dollars, he knows that he has to work hard in every part of his organization. And I'll quote him when he said, "That person working for you can quit tomorrow and go find another job doing what they do." And that's why he's so deeply involved in everything. He delays gratification. And he suppresses instant satisfaction so that he can focus and get back to work. And the result is phenomenal. Just Google him and look it up. And that's my favorite one, friends, is doing that. Now, the common thread, satisfaction. Somebody here on the Zoom says, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're wondering who I'm talking, who's that guy talking to? If you're wondering who I'm talking to, this is a simulcast of a Zoom for one of my masterminds, which you are welcome to explore what that means by just going to my calendar link, which is https:// You got to put those in there still. All the AI in the world, and we still got to put the / in. Prouty.me. And then you can chat with me about it. All right, so let's bring this thing home, everyone. The common thread is that achievement requires becoming a different person. It requires becoming disciplined. It requires becoming patient. It requires you developing systems, and it requires you becoming different than you currently are. So I want you to think about those big goals that you've set for yourself and realize that who you are now cannot achieve those things. But if you can implement these characteristics, you will be well on your way to achieving them. If you have questions or comments on this, you can just drop those things down in the you know where. And thanks for hanging out with me here today live on YouTube, or